I mean, it's been very, very simple for Obama to go out there and say McCain equals 4 more years of George Bush. McCain equals a Bush third term. There's a lot of dissatisfaction with President Bush's policies, with the fact that Republicans controlled the House and the Senate for 6 of the years during Bush's 2 terms, and spending was out of control, and we didn't really govern on a conservative agenda. So it's very, very easy for him to turn around and say, we need change, and people naturally buy into that.
When did it turn, do you think? What was the moment? I mean, we should be careful. McCain hasn't lost yet, but I can remember during the TV presidential debates that they were pretty much neck and neck and going into the conventions, weren't they? And then Sarah Palin came along and Joe Biden as well. But then it seemed to split. Where do you lay the blame?
McCain lost the... Assuming
momentum.
That he lost his chance when he backed the bailout. McCain had built a career over the past 8 years. Remember, he ran for president in 2000 as the anti-Bush. I mean, he was, for many, many years, courted by the mainstream media as the maverick, the independent Republican who was against Bush, and said, I'm a Washington outsider, I don't run with the Washington herd. And when the time was right for him to say, no, I'm going against the bailout, I'm not going to support this kind of policy, what did he say? I'm suspending my campaign, and he went back to Washington, and he sat next to Nancy Pelosi and basically rubber-stamped this, the big banks and getting the bailout. That's when he lost it. He showed, in the end, he's not a maverick. He went along with the Washington herd, which is what he staked his career doing the opposite.
Just a word about Sarah Palin. Has she been good or bad for the campaign?
Horrible. In the end, horrible. Horrible. It's very distressing as a conservative when you try to put together the Republican Party based on a set of conservative principles that we go to personality politics. Everybody thought Rudy Giuliani was the greatest thing. He's America's mayor. And then Fred Thompson, well, he was an actor, he's on Law and Order, he'll lead us to victory. And Sarah Palin's a hockey mom, and somehow she'll lead us to victory. But there's no substance there. That's the issue, is that the Republican Party needs to build itself on the basis of substance and conservative principles. The organizational structures are very strong. There's no doubt about that. And the only way you're going to beat them is if you've got money. And the Tea Party candidates that were successful, Rand Paul notably in Kentucky, was very, very well funded and had an operation and money to fund the operation. Just going out there and having a website and saying I'm affiliated with the Tea Party and I've got some activists that are, mad as hell and not going to take it anymore is not enough to defeat a machine, particularly up against an incumbent.
George, do you see it that way? I mean, the Katie Couric thing was pretty squirm-making, wasn't it?
I watched it today and I winced, to be quite honest. So I think we have to keep in mind this is a game of expectations, and you'd have to be a pretty delusional partisan to conclude that the expectations have not been set rather low for Sarah Palin this evening. So I do agree with my colleagues. She just has to avoid any major errors, and she also has to hope that Joe Biden, who, like John McCain, is certainly not the winner of Miss Congeniality in the United States Senate, might go on the attack and appear a little bit grumpy with her, and then she just has to smile and appear very charismatic, and she comes out looking like the winner.
But it illustrates some people are viewing her a gun-loving, polar bear-hating, Bible-carrying Alaskan. Those are all the prejudices thrown at once. George, do you think she is being got at? Is the media world just turning on this woman in an unfair way?
The hostility with which the candidacy of Sarah Palin has been met by the left wing is extraordinary. I think there's a lot of resentment about the fact on the part of Democrats and liberals that Hillary Clinton has been working for so many years in her pantsuits to become the first woman to reach the executive branch, and here comes Sarah Palin, glides in on a glacier wearing a skirt, and she usurps the spotlight from Hillary Clinton. I think there's extraordinary jealousy, frankly, over that fact.
Let's get back to Gustav for a moment. I mean, without a convention, or without a formal convention, I mean, there is talk that the convention may not really take place at all. Do the Republicans then lose something in terms of that boost they need before the general election?
Well, I think there will certainly be enough media coverage of the convention to give them a boost, and particularly with Palin being introduced. But the timing of announcing her the day after Obama made a speech before nearly 85,000 people was absolutely brilliant, because it did take a good deal of momentum away from Obama, and he didn't quite get the bounce he was hoping from his convention.
And I suppose with Gustav, the question is, how does Obama deal with this? How does he get himself on the national stage?
Well, their playbook will be very easy to ascertain. They're clearly going to say Bush fouled up Katrina, McCain equals Bush, therefore McCain is not qualified to be president. He'll just use this as another example to say Republicans are all bad. Republicans fouled up the response to Katrina. We need to change course and go with Democrats.
Yes, all politics. George Ajjan, thank you very much indeed for your take on that.
Christie's clear on what he wants. He came into this position saying the previous governor patched up this budget with gimmick after gimmick. And Christie, we know, has declared all-out war on the teachers' union. There's no hiding that. I think he's saying if we're going to get this money, which basically pushes off the budget fixes that I've been trying to implement without any gimmicks, if we're going to do that at all, it's definitely going to be on my terms. Again, the focus is on the policy, okay? I disagree with what Pat said, that people want to see the government make compromises. I mean, people are loving the fact that this governor says, this is what I believe, this is what I was elected to do, and that's what I'm going to continue to do.
That he's actually got the House Republicans to play tough guy and hardball with this in order that he suddenly emerges, who knows when, tomorrow, as the Mr. Fix-It and sorts the whole thing out. Is this being staged?
Perhaps with amongst a lot, but McCain has had his differences over the years with the Republican base, and particularly with conservatives. So the idea that they're going to go in line and conduct an elaborate ruse just to benefit him, I think is a bit far-fetched, to be honest.
Okay, so in a sense they're doing his campaign damage, aren't they?
Perhaps. Remember, their responsibilities to their own constituents. They've got to worry about their own re-elections in the November election. This is not just a presidential. 1/3 of the members of the United States Senate and every single one of the 435 members of the House of Representatives is up for re-election. A lot of those people have to be concerned about their own futures.
George, I want you to do 30 seconds of rebuttal now, if you will, and we're going to carry on during the commercial break, which I've got to throw to after that. So have your 30 seconds now, George.
Sure. Well, let me just refer back to what Carol had said with respect to the $700 billion. First of all, it's going to be a lot more than $700 billion because this is debt. In terms of a return on investment to the American people, we've still got to pay interest on all that. This is a very, very bad situation. I think there needs to be a lot more debate. And what the American people don't want to hear tonight is partisan bickering. You know, the Democrats' playbook has been very transparent. John McCain equals 4 more years of the last 8. That's not going to cut it. People want to hear a solution to this crisis. They don't want to hear that Bush is responsible for this entire financial meltdown, because that's not true at all. Republicans and Democrats alike had appointed and reappointed Alan Greenspan in his disastrous tenure at the Federal Reserve. So there's plenty of blame to be spread around here.
You were mentioning George Bush there, George W. Bush. Why wasn't the president there?
I think it's to McCain's benefit not to have the president there.
Because he's so unpopular.
He is very unpopular, even within the Republican base, with issues like immigration, failure to control spending, failure to veto, and I think McCain needs to distance himself from that, because the Democrats clearly, their playbook is very transparent. McCain equals George Bush's 3rd term. So McCain needs to show, no, I am the maverick. I'm going to break from the policies of the past. I'm going to put America first.
I think he's going to take the fight to Barack Obama over the next, 60 days, 62 days? How long have we got?
I think the part where he outlined, which I think was quite well done with respect to issues like health care and taxation. People are really feel it in the pocketbook right now. That's really the #1 issue, is economic downturn. And so McCain clearly has to show American families would be better off with me as president than Obama on issues like health care and taxation, and he'll get really into the policy and the details. That's probably going to be his strongest play.
I understand, obviously you've got your Republican analyst hat on, but
Sure.
If I can just take you back to last week, what did you make of the kind of razzmatazz of the Democrat convention?
Well, it was extraordinary. To fill a stadium full of people on the last night
but a bit over the top, because of course Sarah Palin had a go at it, Jon Stewart and The Daily Show constantly had a go at it.
It still was quite impressive. I must say their convention was very, very well organized. I'm quite glad to be done with the drama of both these conventions. But the one very, very clever move on McCain's part was announcing Palin the day after Obama's big speech, because it really took the wind out of his sails, and she became the story, absolutely dominating the news, and I think she'll continue to do so. It released to a bigger issue, which is less about money, as you say, but more about power. I mean, if we look at, for a functioning republic, the representatives need to be accountable to the citizens. When the United States was founded, the ratio was about 1 representative to every 30,000 people. We're going to elect in this year in November, 435 members of the House of Representatives to represent 300 million people and allocate almost $4 trillion. That means 1 person for every 700,000 people. There's no way that you can be accountable. 1 person can be accountable to 700,000 people. So that's where people's voice is not being heard.
He's really stolen Barack Obama's thunder. Everyone was talking about him after his speech last night. Now everyone's just talking about McCain and Sarah Palin.
Well, you can be certain that the Obama camp is feeling more anxiety than ease right now, because this is a bit of an unknown quantity, and they're really going to have to tread carefully in reacting to it.
Let's just have a quick look at another blog saying the decision will reinforce McCain's maverick status, appeal to Democrats who supported Hillary Clinton. Now, that's an interesting one, isn't it? What about all the women who were possibly going to vote for Hillary Clinton? Are they going to totally change sides and now go Republican so that they can vote for a woman?
I wouldn't put too much stock in that, simply because at the end of the day, Democrats are Democrats, and the president and the vice president are in the columns in ballots in all 50 states alongside people running for Senate and House of Representatives and mayor and, down to the local level. And so all those Democrats have a vested interest in making sure that every Democrat on the ticket wins. So the idea that key people are going to back away from Obama just because they are bitter that Hillary lost, I think is a bit unrealistic. It may have an impact, though, on the ability of Obama to raise money from Hillary's supporters. They may choose simply not to come up with the same amount of cash that they gave to Clinton.